Controls it somewhat. Bakadesh.
Where do I start? It's been up and down.
I remember being a kid.
I can see that happening.
That's something, there's always something to do. Be unlaced.
Unlaced podcast. It's actually not bad.
And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. First off, just want to thank everyone that tuned into the last episode with Nathan Coe. Obviously, that was one of the most profound football stories that I've come across and heard of. Such a great guy that his career getting cut short was obviously quite sad, but listening to him talk about it was actually quite remarkable, how he felt ready about it. As I did say in the early episodes, we are going to be doing episodes across a bunch of athletes across the W League, Matildas, A-League, Socceroos, which we're definitely doing, but even some of the most profound football stories. And I think we've got probably one of the most profound I think I've ever come across in my life in Rebekah Stott. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
No, my pleasure. How you going anyway?
Yeah, I'm going all right. Getting back to normal.
Got round one out the way.
We did, thank goodness.
3 points.
That's the main thing. We got that, but it was not a good performance. That's okay.
That's the sign of a good team, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It was a belter of a goal, whoever scored that, the right footed cutting.
Young gun, she is.
Yeah, so how's it been being back on the grass? Like, how's it, obviously quite long pre-seasons as we've touched on this show before, but it must be good just to be able to play some games and for you in general just to be back out there kicking football again.
Yeah, I think it's amazing just to be out with the girls back in the football field. It's something I set my mind to, and to be back on the field is so nice. It's my happy place. It's where I love to be. So, yeah, it's amazing.
Do you just forget, like, everything that's possible off the field when you're on there? You kind of have to be present, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a great feeling.
Yeah. We were talking about before we jumped on there how you're a number 6 now. So I feel like you have to be present in that position of all, because especially when you're playing for Rado, that's obviously a pivotal position in regards to starting play. How have you found that? Because you're obviously naturally usually a defender.
Yeah, it's so different. Being the centre back, you literally just have to look forward. Pretty much. But I'm going to grow into that position, and hopefully I can grow quick.
Yeah, definitely. So is that the first time you've played it, or have you played it before and this has kind of become more permanent now?
I haven't played it like in a professional environment.
Okay.
I played when I was younger a little bit, but I like to drive out when I'm a centre back, so I am comfortable going up the field. So hopefully, I can do all right there.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you've lived a hell of a life for a 28-year-old. Like, in all honesty, it's amazing. And we're going to go into your inspiring story, which some of the listeners may be aware of, some may not be, but I'm definitely grateful for your, obviously, candidness and vulnerability to be able to share it. But before I go into that, like, you've actually had an incredible football career. Like, I feel like you've achieved everything at quite a young age in the women's game, which is, insane. And you've done so much, as I said. So I'm keen to understand what really grew your love and affection to football, and when you sort of realised that was the path that you wanted to go down.
Yeah, I had 4 brothers growing up, obviously, so
that's why you're a centre back, so
yeah.
you know how to tackle and hurt people because you had
definitely.
to.
But naturally, just went in and played soccer with them, and I just loved it. And then kept playing, and I never had a doubt that that's what I was going to do with my life.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just kept going. And then once it actually became a career option, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I actually went to uni for 2 days, and I was like, no, this is not for me.
What were you going to study?
Sport and industry.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, nah, I'm going to play pro.
Yeah, I'm not like uni. Don't get me wrong. We're not trying to say don't go to uni, but it's a different,
not for everyone.
It's a different world. Mm-hmm. I feel like when you go to the University of Football, it's very hard to understand, normal things outside of like education and stuff like that, because it is a little bit different. Yeah. Like, you're so used to kicking a ball, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I wasn't really interested in school and uni.
No, not your thing.
Nah, not at all.
Well, if you didn't play football, did you have any idea what you would have done, or no, not so much?
I still don't think I would have gone to university. I think I would have found something else. But probably not through study.
Okay, yeah. Just maybe you're an entrepreneur then. You just create your own path.
Yeah, I'd like to think that.
I've actually got some stuff we're going to talk about that probably represents that. But you were born in New Zealand?
Yeah.
But I've also noticed that you spent time playing for the youth teams in Australia before you obviously made the decision to represent the New Zealand national team.
Yeah.
So how did that sort of journey happen? How was it growing up in New Zealand, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It was so cool. I had such a good childhood growing up in New Zealand, always playing outside with my brothers, and it was cool. And then my parents went for a holiday to the sunny coast and visited Dad's brother, I think. And they came back and they're like, "We're moving." I was like, "What? No, I don't want to go."
How old were you at this one?
I was 11.
11, okay.
And we're big rugby supporters there.
Huge.
So I hated the Wallabies, and I was like, I don't want to move to Australia. But then, we moved over here, and I loved it. It was great, and there's probably a lot more opportunities here than back home in New Zealand. But then, I kept training, kept playing, and got selected in the under-17, under-20 teams, and then jumped the ditch.
Cross back over.
Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about it. No, but in all honesty, actually what you've achieved with the football fans is unbelievable as well. Did you move to Brisbane when you came here? Is that where you started in Australia, your family?
Yeah, we went to the sunny coast.
Oh, the sunny coast.
Yeah,
Wow.
always by the beach.
Not a bad spot to start in the country, I might say.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Because you were part of the A-League, or it would have been the W League at the time, now the A-League, not long after its inception from the female aspect. What were those early days like, I guess, back then when it was sort of all starting out? Because I think you might have come in season 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, I was very young then. I first was under Jeff at Brisbane Roar, and that was a great season. I was like a train-on kind of.
Yeah.
But that team, Brisbane, they were full of Matildas.
Did they won silverware, I think, that year, right?
Yeah, won the season, which was great. But yeah, I got so much experience from that, and it was great. And then I decided to move down to Melbourne and play for Melbourne Victory.
Yeah.
And that was so cool. I started playing, and it was really cool. And I mean, I remember thinking, "Damn, I get $100 for this each week." Like, I've made it. And now, to see how far it's come, it's incredible.
Were you guys playing in some of the main grounds back then, early doors? Or was it a lot more sort of suburban and rural grounds? How did that work for?
It was on and off.
On and off.
There were a few really rural and just.
Yeah.
Little stadiums, and then there could be some bigger ones.
Yeah,
but
okay.
It has definitely come a long way.
Who was the coach at Victory at the time, or the people around there that got you break? Because I feel like that was where you established yourself as a professional footballer.
It was Vicky Linton.
Oh, okay.
It's actually crazy because I was under Jeff Hopkins at Brisbane, Vicky Linton, so everyone's still
around.
It's crazy. And Mike Mulvey when he was here.
Oh wow, Mike was one of the best coaches I ever had.
Oh, I loved him.
He's unreal.
Insane.
Yeah, he was my. He actually gave my debut in the A-League.
Wow,
yeah, there you go.
Crazy,
Yeah,
small world.
Small world. Yeah, he's a remarkable coach.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most notable things was, I guess, your move to Melbourne City in 2015. I feel like that was a huge move for you at the time, but also if you look back and the success and the quality of teams that have happened there, that's been probably one of the best decisions you've made. How did that originate?
I was at the World Cup in Canada 2015, and I'm good friends with Steph Catley, and she was like, "Oh, Joe wants to talk to you. He's a new coach of Melbourne City." So I was like, "Oh, jump on a call," and he pretty much just sold it to me. He said the club, it's going to be amazing, and he's like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yep, sign me up." Wow. And I mean that season, I'll never forget that season. We had some of the best players in the world: Kim Little, Jess Fishlock, Jen Beattie. We were incredible.
Yeah, it's a scary team photo to look at.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Very scary.
Yeah. What was it like working with the famous Joe Montemurro? Obviously, his success overseas has now kind of got him more attention, but a lot of people domestically knew how good he was. What was it like playing for him?
I loved it. I think him as a coach, he understands the importance of players being happy.
Yeah.
I think that's so key. And when you're under him, he lets you enjoy it. He makes sure that everyone in the team is happy, and I think that showed on the field, the way we play.
Now, we're pretty lucky. This is our third episode, so again, thank you for coming on. But our first episode guest was Scott Jamieson, and you're our third guest, and we've had now both the leading appearance getters for Melbourne City across male and female. This is why I said it was such a a great move for you, because you've obviously stayed there for so long and played so many games. It's pretty insane for you, don't you think? To be able to say that.
I mean, the club's been amazing to me. I've been there. I think this is my 6th season, and for championships in that. And yeah, I think the way they treat us has really raised the standard for all the teams in the league.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to be there and honoured to have that record.
Honestly. And have you enjoyed being at the new training grounds? Jamo kind of gave us a bit of an insight. And
What did he say about it?
he said it was amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
He said that it was obviously different from Latrobe with a bit of a travel, but I think
It is far away, but I think once it's completed, it will be amazing.
Yeah, the plans for it sound crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's like a benchmark for the other clubs to follow. I feel like it will be.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah. One of the things is I was going to talk about, you kind of mentioned it there, but if I was a betting man, I'd be looking at what team Rebekah Stott's in regards to the A-League, because I think you've won like 5 premierships and 2 championships across your career, which if we think back to when you started in 2010 or 11 to now 2021, like you've pretty much been a part of silver almost every season. So one thing for me, obviously a lot of people talk about having good players is important, but how much is it having like a good culture and a good coach to complement that?
I think it's huge. Having a good culture is everything.
Yeah.
If your team's not happy, it shows on the field. So I think Rado does a great job at that, really making sure that we're a together team.
Yeah.
Like this year, we don't have stars like we did a couple years ago with all the Matildas and everyone, but we have a really good, young, talented squad.
Yeah.
And the way we train, it includes everyone so that we're a team.
Okay.
So, I mean, I hope it's successful this year.
Definitely. Well, odds are saying that it probably will be.
I think we're a bit of the underdog this
year,
year, to be honest.
Well, you got up, as I said, it was a great win. Ugly, but great win on the weekend. So hopefully that'll keep going. I think another massive moment for you, and I was joking with you off air, I'm like, Stott's almost like achieved everything in the game. But a couple of big moments for you were being a part of like global major tournaments, the Olympics, and obviously the World Cup you touched on. Can you give us some insight into what it's like being at those tournaments, obviously on a world stage representing your country, like a high-pressured environment in some regards as well?
I think that's what we play for, to be at those major events. And, I mean, those are the highlights of my careers, like going to the Olympics and playing in the World Cup. Like, there's no better tournament. There's no better feeling. So I just remember 2015 when I scored a goal at the World Cup. I think whatever happens in my life, I've got that title. I can say, well, I scored a goal at the World Cup, you know.
People have to look at that goal, by the way, as well. Because you're technically a defender, and you scored a on the half volley on a tight angle, and I'm like, that's some technique there. So that's maybe why you're playing as a 6 now.
Oh, don't know.
Yeah. But what was that? What was the 2015 World Cup like? Because you played almost every game, every minute, I think, for the Kiwis at the time.
It was really hard. We played some really good football, and then we had to win that last game against China, and we drew 2-2. There was a bit of controversy in the game.
Still a bit of bad blood there.
I mean, if there was VAR back then, we probably would have won.
Oh,
so
really?
It's like, it's frustrating, but it was such a good experience, and I love going to those tournaments. That's the reason.
It's such we've obviously got the World Cup in Australia next year.
And New Zealand.
Yeah, and New Zealand, of course. There's actually quite a lot of games being in New Zealand. When I was looking at the games of like where that are going to be held, there's quite a lot there. So you guys are going to be expecting like full pack crowds there. Is that going to be pretty awesome?
That's what we're hoping for. Yeah. There's a few major tournaments happening for women's sport in New Zealand that year. So I'm really hoping that the country gets behind it.
Yeah. Would you say that's almost like a bit of a bucket list thing for like a footballer to like, do you know what I mean? Like it's pretty surreal to be able to say that you played at a World Cup on your home soil.
Yeah. I mean, when it was announced that we had won it, I was so over the moon. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would be playing at a World Cup.
I never thought I'd be able to watch a World Cup like for a long time in my life in like my country as well. Yeah. Like it's pretty
insane.
Surreal.
Absolutely insane.
Did you also the following year after the 2015 World Cup was Rio? Mm-hmm. What was that experience like? Because when I thought of like Rio and football, I'm like, people are just going to go watch the football. Like, do you know what I mean? Like track and field's one thing, but like we're in the heart of football. Mm-hmm. How was that whole experience over there?
Yeah. It was a bit different for me. I was coming back from an injury, and so it was very
touch and go.
Yes. Like I literally had hardly trained, hardly played. I think I'd played 60 minutes before the first game.
Okay.
And I was on a lot of drugs. Like
Trying to get through.
Yeah. But like it was very different, but it was still such an amazing atmosphere and experience. Like it was really cool.
Oh, it's amazing. You've played, we talked on obviously your success domestically, but you've played in quite a lot of countries abroad as well. One thing I'm always interested in is like, especially when you go to like other countries where football's obviously different in each place and the styles and all of that, but the language barriers as well. Like, how did you find playing abroad in the various countries that you had?
Man, if you've been using the same trimmer for your face and your balls, that's wrong. That's not what we should be doing. That's not safe. And if your partner or girlfriend or partner, you know, your mister knew that was going on, that's not good for you either. It's time to get your own ball hair and body trimmer with Manscaped, the Lawnmower 4.0. It's beautiful, it's precision, it's the Ferrari of all tools to trim downstairs. The best part is also the ball deodorant. Now this thing's like a little bit of cream that you rub down there that makes it smooth as a baby's bottom, as my producer Pete would say. And the smell's actually really good too. So they kind of go hand in hand together. I feel like you can't have one without the other. If you're like me and you've got quite a bit of Manscaped product, I get the toiletry bag too. It's pretty cool. Can take it with me everywhere. And I also have got my Manscaped Jocks. As I said, Unlace is the discount code. Get on manscaped.com, in your checkout basket, put that in, and you get free shipping worldwide. Let's get back to the episode.
I love it. I love embracing the cultures of the countries that I go to. I was in Germany for 2 years and I eventually went to German language school.
Can you speak any German now?
Ja, ich spreche Deutsch.
Wow, ich heiße Jake.
Oh, ich heiße Stotty.
Oh, there you go.
No, so it's cool. I love, really experiencing it.
Yeah.
So I try and make the most out of where I am living.
Yeah, because where else you played? Was it America? Was it Norway as well?
Norway and England now.
Time in the UK too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Uh-huh.
I think I just want to acknowledge the next phase of this conversation has probably already been well documented, but I'm really keen to, I guess, go back to the period in your life where I guess things started to take a little bit of a turn, and you obviously were you in playing domestically when you first sort of realised something was going on with your neck, or what was that sort of like?
It was actually last year in the lockdown.
In the lockdown, okay. Were you in Oz or were you back home or were you?
Yes, I was in Melbourne.
Okay.
It was after the season, so I think around June or something. And I felt a little bit of a lump on my neck. It was tiny.
Yeah.
And I had been doing home workouts and just trying to stay fit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I pulled a muscle or something. But so I went and got a biopsy, and he said it doesn't look bad. They're not really sure what it is, but it seems fine. Just keep an eye on it. And then I headed over to England.
Oh, so at that time, you had presumed, and even the medical advice was it's inconclusive, so you could go over, because it was to Brighton you went to, which is a massive club as well, by the way.
It was sick.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. They play in the UK. That's why it's been a bucket list of mine I've never achieved. So kudos to you.
Oh, it was so amazing while I was there.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were over there, did you start to realise obviously it was more serious, or? Yeah,
I mean it grew, and it got to the point where it was pretty big. It was on this side of my neck and under my collarbone. So it was okay, something's really not right here. And then so I went to see the doctor there, and she was like, we need to get a biopsy. And then that started the long process of really trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah, okay. Did you have an instinct at all through that period of what it might be, or were you just kind of going with the flow, not reading into it overly, but obviously maybe probably a little bit worried at the same time, I imagine?
Yeah, I was trying not to read into it too much. I definitely had Googled and tried to figure it out because, I mean, you're just sitting there waiting to try and figure out what is going on, but you have no idea. But I didn't think it would be cancer. But then I think the first time where I was like, oh, crap, it actually could be, was when I had my biopsy in England. And I asked the nurse, I was like, oh, what do you think it could be? And she's like, oh, I think it could be lymphoma. Wow. And I was sitting there and I actually didn't know that was cancer. Weird.
Really?
That's terrible. But I went outside to the car park and I Googled, and I was like, oh, whoa,
that's serious.
I could be in trouble here.
Yeah.
And then I guess that took another 2-3 months to actually figure out that like come to the conclusion that
Like
it
to
is.
be definitive that,
Yeah.
that it was cancer.
Yeah. So I think that was like the most frustrating part for me.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you spent quite a bit of time, obviously, away from home through that period, obviously going through that journey and kind of being aware that it could be something serious until it got to a point where it was like definitive that, hey, you've got, what's it, stage 3
Yeah.
Hodgkin's lymphoma at the time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's pretty full on, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I had the support of my team and my friends around me. So I think that made it a lot easier. I was also in contact with the doctor from Melbourne City, so he had known about it the whole time, which also made it easier for me, I think. And he was able to set I got home.
Right.
But yeah, it was a hard time.
So prior to that happening, I take it that you still were physically capable of doing most things because you obviously left Australia with the lump on your neck and you went there and you played some games over in the UK till it got to the point. So were you able to still play like fine? You didn't you didn't change your energy levels or anything?
That's the weird thing. I felt physically fine. Literally the only thing was the lump on my neck.
Yeah.
I could do everything and I didn't feel fatigued. I just felt normal.
Yeah, okay. So what point did you realise that, you know, it's time to maybe move away from Brighton to come home to get like proper care and treatment?
Yeah. So I had got the biopsy.
Yeah.
That was inconclusive. Then I had to wait again for another month. And then I got it surgically, a tissue taken out of it for them to send off to get tested. And then I think it was 2 weeks after that, they called me and said, we think it's lymphoma. We're not 100% sure yet. And I was like, wait, what?
That's a harsh
You can't
phone.
just tell me you think
I
it is.
completely agree with you
So
on that.
It was hard.
We need to have a word to that doc. Like if you're going to make those phone calls, make it black
know.
and white.
Yeah. And so I called up someone else. I was like, look, I need to know, like, if it is bad, I need to go home.
Yeah, of course.
And so one doctor was like, well, we're pretty sure it is. We're just trying to figure out what stage and what type. And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, it was really hard to get home then because of flights with
Of
COVID.
course. So what period was this at? Like what month if you could take us on a time scale?
This was February.
Of the 2021?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So were we in lockdowns? Was the world crazy at that point, or was it kind of easy to get out of the UK, hard to get into Australia?
Hard to get into Australia.
Okay.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Because the borders were closed technically.
Of course. Yeah.
But there's a lot of good Facebook groups out there of people trying to get home. There's lots of good travel agents out there on those pages, and I reached out to a few of them, and they were able to get me on a flight home literally the next day. So it was literally like 24 hours, and I had to pack up my whole apartment and get to the airport.
My God. So how was Brighton with you in that period? I can imagine obviously they would have been supportive, but at the same time they're losing probably a key player of their team too, so they'd have been like, oh shit.
Yeah, they were supportive. They were good. I think it was probably November, and the coach came up to me, and I was set to play against Arsenal, I think it was, and she's like, are you okay to play? Knowing that I might have cancer, I might not. Like she was like, mentally, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. Like
really. So while that was going, was that maybe because that felt like a bit of a release for you from maybe the stress of what was potentially happening? Or?
Yeah, and I think like physically I felt fine, so I was like, well, I want to play while I can, you know. I don't want to just not play. And mentally I was fine. Yes, it was stressful, but I was okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so for me that's like your whole story is inspiring, and there's a few more layers to go into this, but like I can imagine your teammates, if you're playing with like a lump on your neck, like so the reason why I say this, I played in the Ollie Roos with Dylan Tombides, who passed away with testicular cancer.
Yeah. And
we were playing in Oman, and I remember he was kind of, I don't know if he was going through chemotherapy at the time or coming into remission or something of that nature, but he obviously had lost all his hair. You could tell there was something not quite right with him. He'd lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But we played one of the teams. We were winning 1-0, and he came on in the 60th minute, and it was like hot, so hot. And I just remember him running 40 metres to press like 2 defenders. They played it back to the keeper, and we all stayed back because we're dead. And he was just chasing down the keeper, and I'm like, oh my God.
Jeez.
Like, what am I doing?
That's
I can imagine maybe some of your teammates were like, well, if she's gone for tackles, like I better go in for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think because it wasn't like a definite I didn't have the answer then.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of went on as normal, yeah, I mean, that sounds incredible.
Well, yeah, it stayed with me to this day.
Yeah,
God rest his soul, because I was like, well,
Jeez.
what can I complain about now? You know?
Mhm,
But at what point was it when you were coming home that like football became like almost really small and really irrelevant, and that perspective of the world just kind of diminished? Of like, that's not the most important thing anymore.
Yeah, I think it was when I got that call saying it's probably cancer.
Yeah.
I think that's when it was like, all right, football can just sit here for a second. I'm just going to go figure out myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, let's get better. Let's find a cure and let's get healthy.
Has it now? Obviously, you're on the other side, which is unbelievable to see. But has it changed your perspective on football at all? Like in a sense of like,
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy my life.
Yeah.
I do whatever I want, really. Like, I'm not going to do something because I don't know of some reason.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's like really changed a lot.
Yeah.
It is nice and amazing to be back on the field, but I can't really say like it's changed.
Yeah. Was there ever a point where, now I imagine there may have been, but just to get it from you, was there ever a point where you thought maybe like you won't go back on the football field? Or were you always kind of in your mind like, I'm going to get back?
Oh, I was always like, I'm going to get back. I think when I started training, like the first 2 weeks, and I was just so cooked, I was like, oh, should I just retire? Just say, oh, not too hard.
Yeah.
But no, like it has been hard, like trying to get back to fitness and not trying to pull every calf every session. But no, it's so amazing.
So how long was the time from obviously when you stopped to when you stepped back on the grass? What was the sort of time frame?
I think my last game was in November or December. I can't remember. It's almost a year, to be honest. Just under a year.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. Like, it's remarkable in a sense.
Yeah,
So.
and like I think back on what I went through and like me at my lowest, and I'm like, wow, that actually wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of progress.
Does that give you like some perspective on life in itself, I guess?
Yeah, it's like crazy.
We spoke about it off air. It was like, how cool is it to say you've beaten cancer?
Yeah.
Like what can anyone? No one can top that.
Yeah.
That's really
100%,
remarkable.
and I'll claim it.
I wanted to read something to you that your coach Rado had said about you, and I've got a feeling you know this, but just potentially our listeners won't know this. And this was coming into, it might have been like the preseason or even the first game, and it was a journalist that actually turned up to a press conference, and I think it might have been due to COVID restrictions. He was the only one there with Rado, so they had like a bit more of an in-depth discussion, if you could say, rather than like a journalist to coach interview. But like obviously we both know the Vidicic quite well, and he one of the quotes he said from that interview to me, I just wanted to read to you because I'm not sure if you heard it. Have you heard?
I think I have.
Okay. So he said to a question, he goes, "Rebekah Stott, that is the highlight of my coaching career. I've had 36 undefeated games with Brisbane Roar. I've worked with Ange Postecoglou, Del Piero. I've won the FFA Cup with Melbourne Victory, and now here with City, I'm part of a fantastic organisation. But to be part of someone's life journey, to defeat the illness that she has had, to come back and to see her, how dedicated she is to the sport, to the women's game, and how much of a following she has got and how much people adore her, I think for us that is the winning season." It's pretty fucking cool.
It is. It's really nice to hear that, and to have their support is it's amazing.
How has it been with Rado throughout that period? Like, what's the coaching staff or the support staff of Melbourne City been like?
Yeah, they've been really good. They've been really patient with me. I think it's a very different situation to like having an injury or something. And so, I mean, I'm a bit of a nightmare sometimes.
In what sense?
Just a bit lazy.
Oh yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah, but no, they've taken the time and really just worked with me to try and get me in the best shape to be able to play.
Yeah. How does it make you to feel you hear something like that? Like,
yeah, I mean that's special. It's so nice.
But he has done so much in the game, like Rado as well. He's so I guess thought after in this country.
Yeah.
One of the things through that period as well, I understand both FIFA Pro and also the PFA were sort of supporting you through that process and probably had some engagements and contact with you. Like, are you able to shed some light on anything sort of there that was maybe that, you know, they were there for you and through that period? Would be interesting to hear.
PFA were amazing.
Yeah.
As soon as, I mean, even when I was still trying to figure out what it was, I was on the phone to PFA and they were helping me. They were like, whatever you need, we can do it. We can give you Disney Plus if you want.
Shout out the
yeah.
PFA. That's awesome.
Oh.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, no, it was so good. They helping with flights, helping with quarantine, anything I needed, they were there. So I was so lucky and so relieved that they were there to take a bit of pressure off me.
Yeah, because I can imagine, especially in that period when you were in Brighton, my assumption is you didn't really have many of your close friends or family there as well.
Yeah, I still had like my team, did have a bit of support there, but yeah, no, it was extremely helpful and
Definitely.
I'm so lucky.
Yeah, definitely. No, well, that's awesome. Disney Plus, though, I like that. That's it. It's a good little catch.
I haven't taken them up on the offer.
Yeah, maybe should now.
Yeah. Still on the cards?
Yeah, that's right. As I mentioned with Dylan, one of the side effects of chemotherapy is obviously the loss of hair. And I actually think this says a lot about your character, but you made a decision to, I guess, run sort of a cause for a charity or do the world's greatest shave. Can you give us some light on like what that was like, why you sort of wanted to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a given. If I was going to lose my hair, then of course I'm going to try and raise some money while I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And so I was actually a little bit scared to lose my hair, and I photoshopped a really bad photo of a bald head on mine, and it looked atrocious, and I think that kind of gave me a bit of a bad vibe about it all.
Yeah.
But I made an event out of it. My best friend Katie and her friend, her girlfriend Kayla.
Yep.
They organised an event, and everyone had to wear wigs, and I didn't. So like everyone else looked weird, and I didn't. So it was really, it made me comfortable shaving my hair off. And yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that night to be so emotional and so like just amazing.
Yeah.
But I had such a good feeling, and it was just amazing, surrounded by my friends and my family, and yeah, it was incredible. And able to raise almost $40,000
Wow.
for the Leukemia Foundation, like that was special.
That's very special. Yeah. That's huge.
It was insane.
This is what I wanted to talk about, because like I think in those situations when obviously life sometimes throws things at you that you can't control, you'd think naturally that person would be thinking about them and how they need to get better. But you constantly clearly showed signs where you're like still wanting to think of other people. And one of the things, and this is when I come back to the entrepreneurial side of you, was the Stotty bag, which is like, when you talked about it, I was like, I would never have even thought of like something like that. But then obviously when you described like why it's relevant, I'm like, oh my God, what a thought, what an invention. So can you give some of the listeners some insight into, I guess, the Stotty bag and I guess how that's going?
Yeah, I mean, early days of my diagnosis and going to the hospital and having all this paperwork everywhere and carrying around this tote bag, I was like, no, I want to be comfortable. I want my special cancer bag that doesn't look ugly. And so I designed one, and I was like, you know what? People going through this crap time in their life deserve something nice and just to help them be organized and comfortable. And so, yeah, I designed a bag, and then I filled it with different things that helped me go through my treatment.
Yeah.
So the idea is people can buy that for a loved one going through it, their family or their friend.
That's very thoughtful.
But I'm also doing an auction and raising loads of money for the bags to distribute to canteen and hospitals.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
They're great little bags. So are they like, can you buy them online, or is it like where?
Yeah, you can buy them on beatitbystuddy.com.
There you go. That's a plug. See,
Yeah.
see how he did that?
That's nice.
No, but they are really cool. And this is, I was like, so when you were going through this process and obviously having some really tough days in the hospital, I imagine from like a mental standpoint, you were still thinking of like how you can create something cool that could like, you know, help the industry or help the cause of like a really dark sort of illness.
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning, I really wanted to share my journey to help people. Because when I was Googling, when I was going through it, there wasn't a lot of information that I could find. So, yeah, I think I needed to share my story to help people who are going through something similar to what I did. But, I mean, creating the bags also helped me. Like, it gave me something to focus on.
Okay.
That wasn't just, I feel so sick. I'm going through treatment. Poor me.
Which is probably a really good point, actually.
My gosh. It was so helpful. It was just the biggest distraction.
That's awesome. Can you give us like just some insight? Like what were some of those days like, I guess, where it was quite mentally tough? Like what were some of the things that you would turn to? Was it be your family, your friends for that support, for that strength? Or was it maybe the study bag, for example?
Probably my bed.
Just give it a cuddle.
No, my family and friends were honestly the biggest support.
Yeah.
I was so lucky to be in that situation where I have such a good crew behind me. I think they really helped me on those days.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When did you come into remission? Like when did you start to be sort of cleared of everything and I guess on the other side?
Yeah. June. Wow. So, well, technically officially July.
Okay.
But so I was supposed to do 6 cycles and I'd finished my 3rd one. And then I walked into the doctor's office before my 4th cycle and he's like, "Oh, are you excited for your last one?" I was like, "What? I've got 2 more after this." He's like, "Nah, you're clear. You don't need to do any more after this one." And I was like, "What?"
That was the first you found out about it.
That
it was just the doc just dropping it on you lightly. Like
and he's
that.
so casual. He's just like, "Yeah,
God, that's a life-changing comment, Doc.
I know. And I was like, oh my gosh, because like on the 3rd week of that last cycle, like it's just awful.
It's
like,
really not nice. Yeah.
I was at the lowest point of the whole thing. So if I had to do another 2 after that, that would have been so hard. So I was like so thankful after that.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. Well, it's amazing. Obviously, now you've come out the other side. You're back on the football pitch. Your story's been like grabbed by everyone, which is obviously rightly so, and I'm sure inspiring for me to honestly be able to talk to you about it. I feel like what am I complaining about? So, but we spoke. You've been obviously you've been in Melbourne for quite a long time. I'm keen to understand like who Rebekah Stott is off the field. Like what are some of the things that you would do? You love this city, don't you?
Oh yeah, I love Melbourne. I think it's definitely going to be my home.
Yeah.
I mean, coffee definitely
is
up there.
You look like a coffee girl.
Yeah, every single morning.
Yeah.
I just love the city.
Yeah.
Going down the beach.
Yeah.
Actually live 2 streets back, which is nice.
Oh, that's handy. Yeah. Can you surf or anything? If you lived on the sunny coast, surely you've got something.
I haven't really tried, to be honest. I do skate a bit.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, longboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is longboard like for the is that harder or easier?
It's the one where you can like just really cruise.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not hard. No tricks or anything.
So do you have, outside of obviously football, do you have other things like other active interests? Like we've mentioned the study bag, which is cool, but do you have other things that like you've actually realised you're passionate about as you've kind of gone through life, or is it really sort of like football's like for you, you know, where you like to drive all your energy into?
No, I definitely like to do other things outside of my football time, like training and stuff. I mean, I always come up with random ideas of things that I'm going to create and import or whatever, but this is the one that's stuck, so it takes up a lot of my time at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, if we talk about just to finish off this season with Melbourne City, obviously you've got a big rivalry with Melbourne Victory. We saw them have a pretty good win in round 1 against Adelaide. I think you've got a couple games on the bounce against them coming up through the season. Like what's sort of your excitement about playing them, and then secondly also the season in itself for obviously a relatively new team?
I'm so excited. Like, rivalries are the best games to play in, the big derbies. So I'm so excited for those games. I'm so heartbroken for Kayla.
Yeah,
she's a good friend of mine.
Shout out Kayla Morrison.
Yeah.
That's really, I guess, really harsh.
Yeah, terrible. But no, I'm really hoping that our team can prove a few people wrong.
Yeah.
And really show what the future of football in this country looks like, because we've got such a young team with such great talent coming through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope we can play some nice football.
I can imagine you got a bit more of like a leadership responsibility now with the younger group. Like it, do they?
I wouldn't say that. I'm too much of a joker, and for that. But I do like to give the young ones bits of advice here and there.
Yeah. So you're kind of like the cool vet where like you don't say too much, but like you just do it, and that's kind of your way of leading, I guess.
I can be a bit of an idiot, but I can also be serious, and I think I can give some good advice at times.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, honestly, episode 3, Footballer's Voice, Rebekah Stott, it's been such a pleasure talking to you and learning more about you, and obviously documenting your journey, which you did. I actually found really like a profound experience doing some research on this. So thank you so much for coming on the show and being vulnerable and sharing it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Cool.
Sweet.